Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome everybody here today for our December the 8th, 2022 board meeting. And anybody in the virtual world, welcome you here also. All right, our first item on the agenda today is Pastor Spencer. Pastor Spencer, I'd like to welcome you here today. I know it's your first time here.
It is, yeah.
Glad to see you, sir.
Very new to the community, but I'm serving at Melrose United Methodist Church, right down the street in Lotsburg, and love of the community already, and just wanted to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this.
You're certainly welcome.
I'll just lead us in prayer. Dear God, 1 Thessalonians 5:14 tells us, we urge you, brothers and sisters, to warn those who are idle and disruptive, to encourage the disheartened, to help the weak, and to be patient with everyone. And we just ask that you can help this board do that in each and every one of us. May you guide the members of this board's decisions and minds and help align them with your own and your want for love, peace, and joy to thrive in this community and all who that they serve, God. We know that in this world it seems almost impossible to make decisions that make everybody happy, Lord, but we know that through you all things are possible. And I ask that you may bless this committee and their decisions, that they may do all the good that they can in all the ways that they can for as long as they can, and that you help all of them and each and every one of us strive to make it on earth as it is in heaven. It's in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for welcoming. I'll leave you guys to your business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing I want to add into here. I'd like to have a moment of silence for Deborah Benson. She's been a bus driver of number 23, and I think she started back in 2015. Am I correct, Dr. Wargo?
Yes, sir.
All right, if we don't mind, we'll just have a moment of silence for her. All right. And we'll get on with our meeting here. Next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Is this normal? This is reverse from normal, isn't it? The agenda before the Pledge of Allegiance?
I gotta say,
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing right what's listed, but
Wait a minute, all right. It's listed as agenda, but let's change it. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance.
this, yeah. I went back and checked November.
I was just reading that.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we'll get it back on track. All right, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to it?
One thing I'd have is to reverse allegiance and the
Yeah.
agenda.
All right,
Nothing else from me.
anybody else have anything? Ms. Tadlock, you got anything?
no, sir, I don't.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Second.
I got a motion, got a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Next would be the approval of the minutes. Now, we have two sets of minutes. We have November the 2nd, 2022, a joint meeting with the school board, and we have November the 10th, 2022, a regular board meeting.
So moved on both.
On both. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item are our presentations, and we have a resolution here for Reverend Lee Scripture. Mr. Tadlock?
Yes, sir. Resolution in memory of Reverend Lee Scripture. Whereas Reverend Lee Scripture was a pastor at Wacomico Baptist Church since 1983, ministering to his congregation until his passing. Whereas the same Reverend Scripture faithfully served as a member of the school board for 25 years, including terms as chairman, and the same Reverend Scripture dedicated many hours to the athletes of Northumberland County by being an avid sports reporter and statistician for the past 40 years. And Reverend Scripture leaves a legacy of service, love, and commitment to Northumberland County and its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors hereby expresses their deepest sadness at the passing of Reverend Scripture and their sincerest appreciation for the impact that he had on the county. Be it further resolved that this resolution is hereby adopted on this day, December 8th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt this resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone here tonight?
Yeah, families here.
Oh, yeah. So come up, please.
Stephen, will y'all come on up here? Y'all family?
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Sent this to y'all.
Y'all turn that way, Louis, she wants to get a picture of you.
She wants a picture.
Get over with him, Richard.
You want me to break the camera?
Yeah.
All right, that's deeply sent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Al.
All right, next item is an update from Northumberland County Schools. Dr. Wargrove?
Good
Good to
evening,
see you.
Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. If you can follow with me in the latest news that I passed out, we'll be reviewing that, and then Ms. Booth is here for her first regular meeting as our Director of Finance, so she'll share some things with you as well. On page 1, you can see that this week we're kicking off our budget input survey. We welcome all to participate, all of our stakeholders, including you, and we have that link located on our website. It's also on our official social media. It's an online survey, so please join us in completing the budget input survey. Thank you on page 1 and for the next couple pages for inviting us to the Northumberland County Christmas tree lighting ceremony. It was a huge success, and you can see that our middle school and high school choir as well as our elementary school choirs performed that day along with other performers. So it was a great event. A lot of community showed up, and we appreciate that you included us. I'm moving to page 3 and 4. We celebrated this week our school board member, Dr. Davis. She was the director of the Chesapeake Chorale last weekend on Friday in Northumberland, on Saturday in Lancaster, as well as on Sunday in Middlesex. So very proud of her contributions to the Chesapeake Chorale as well as to our school board. The Red Cross visited the elementary school for Red Cross Emergency Preparedness Day, so you have information on that. On page 5, we're taking applications for the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, and those applications are due on January 18th. So information there. We do have an early release date on December 16th at noon. That's next Friday. And winter break will be held from December 19th through January 2nd. On page 6, you can see a picture of the groundbreaking ceremony for the STEM, JROTC, and athletic building. Thank you to Mr. Tadlock for speaking at that ceremony and for attending. We appreciate your attendance. Last evening, we had a wonderful band concert. Our students were amazing, and our music programs, both choral and band, have been doing very well. And lastly, we have a school board member a school board meeting this coming Monday, and that's at 6 o'clock for the regular school board meeting. So those are some updates. Mr. Haney, thank you for mentioning our sad loss of our bus driver, Deborah Vincent. Her celebration of life is on Saturday at 11 a.m., and that's at the Northern Neck Baptist Church in Callio. So thank you for the moment of silence, and we're deeply saddened. With that said, I'd like to turn this over to Ms. Booth for some Director of Finance updates.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you know that I have a draft budget calendar, to present to the school board on Monday night. So hopefully we'll have that out to you shortly. Our goal is to have that budget ready for you at our joint meeting on February 22nd. And also, I have begun filing reimbursements, so hopefully we'll be able to get that rolling here quickly. Thank you.
All right, any board members have any questions?
Did we ever get the carryover figure from last year?
Yes, Mr. Bellows presented that a couple months ago, I believe. I didn't bring that today, but we definitely have it. Mr. Tadlock, do you have that?
I don't have the exact figure. Of course, the auditors have been working on that as well.
So it's not truly final yet?
It's not a final figure,
Okay.
and we
Don't worry about
probably
it then.
won't have that figure till later this month, beginning of next month. And I can't remember the figure that Mr. Bellows had presented.
I can't either.
He presented at his last meeting with you. That was one of his closing agenda items.
All right, any other questions?
Just want to thank the superintendent of the school board and the students. It was a fantastic program, Christmas program,
Thank you.
and the crowd was very mixed, and it was just outstanding.
It was a joy to be there. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the choirs coming Saturday. Thank you.
No problem.
And your school board.
We enjoyed it.
They were wonderful. They did an excellent job.
Yes.
I was very pleased.
It felt like a Hallmark movie, didn't it?
It did.
And you did a great job, too.
Well, thank you, and I think we had a pretty good turnout.
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
Fantastic.
it was a very good turnout.
It was very sweet.
All right,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
all right. All right, next is a update from the Virginia Department of Transportation. Mr. Beal?
Hey, good evening. Good to be
Good
with
evening.
you all. I'll just walk you through my report. We've completed some surface treatment patching on several routes, Walnut Point, Clarktown, and Dotlight Road. We're doing some brush cutting in the Remo area, continue to patch potholes countywide. We did finish the mowing and litter pickup on all the primary routes in November, and we continue to address work orders countywide. Upcoming and ongoing is my pipe replacement on 360. That's a 90-foot pipe, and we're about 40 foot in, and we keep running into buried debris that is obstructing the pipe from advancing. So the contractor is having to work by hand from inside the pipe to clear that debris. So it's been very slow the last couple of weeks. But we're hoping once he gets this last obstruction clear, he can push the pipe through, and we'll be done in a couple days. And next up is a pipe replacement on 200. So hopefully we don't have buried debris there. But we finished the survey for the pipe replacement on 200, and we'll start working on that as soon as we're able. We'll continue to patch potholes and work on drainage work orders countywide. We're going to focus on brush cutting in the Wacomico Church area, and we'll be cleaning ditches in the Ophelia area. And the work on secondary 6-year plan on 631 Mega Lane, that's complete. I attended the pre-construction conference today for the scour repair project on 604 and 605. And it sounds like the contractor is still finalizing their schedule, but the information they gave me at the meeting today, they tentatively expect to start in Northumberland, and they'll work on one bridge and then go to the next. So I do expect work to begin after the first of the year on one of those routes. I'm not sure which one will be first, but as soon as I have their final schedule, I will pass that on to you. If you recall, there are detours with both roads. Will have closures and detours, so we'll get that information out as soon as I have their schedule. I know the schools will be interested in that for their bus routes as well. You had asked me to follow up on crosswalk in Heathsville at the library. Our traffic engineers reviewed that. We will be putting up pedestrian warning signs And we'll also be upgrading and enhancing the curve signage there in the curve. A marked crosswalk will not be installed at this time. Before that could be done, there would need to be some concrete work done so that pedestrians could safely get to the crosswalk as well as meet ADA requirements like a curb ramp. So if the library or the county puts in a sidewalk from the library to the road, we would then do an engineering study to see if a marked crosswalk was warranted. So we won't have a marked crosswalk there, but we will be installing pedestrian warning signs in that location. And that's all I had. So anything you all have for me?
All right, any board member having questions, comments? Nope. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I got it. The 200 where you're going to do that, is that going to be another jack and bore possibility?
That's our plan.
Because I can see that where it was filled before, it's dropped another, like that much difference. So anytime you get a heavy rain, it's dropping down all the time. And I think that some of us are concerned that it's going to eat underneath and you're going to be riding over vacant substrata.
Yeah, we'll keep maintaining it and, building the surface back up as it settles, but the plan is to get a new pipe in there and
Yeah, I saw y'all surveying it 2 different days and good.
I do have one thing, Richard.
Go ahead.
You finished on it?
Yes.
Reach still down there, well, down there where that sign is gone, where the physical barrier between the highways, right there in front of Little Road Market. Lets people know that that's not road there anymore, it's dirt, grass. That's still down.
I'll check on that. You told me that last month.
Is that all?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for getting those holes fixed down on Clarktown Road. It's a big improvement down there.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know. I think they did it that night.
Yeah. It was done the next day, so that was good. So, all right. No one else has anything? Thank you for your time, coming.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dad. Have a good Christmas. I don't guess we'll see you anymore till after.
Yeah, that's right. All right, next item on the agenda is the county administrator's report, and Lutz will let you take care of that.
All right, the first item I have is building permit report for November. We had 5 new structures. Total construction cost for the month was $4.1 million. Total construction cost year-to-date was $55.6 million, which puts us up above this time last year about $4.8 million. Next, I need to read the abstract of votes from the last election. Member House of Representatives, District 1, Rob Whitman, 4,027. Herb Jones, 2,093. David Bruce Foster, 55. Total write-ins, 8. Mayor for Kilmarnock, Sean Donahue, 13. Total write-in votes, 6. Member Town Council for Kilmarnock, Curtis Henry Smith, 16. Leslie Spivey, 11. Chris Harris, 11. Rebecca Tebbs Nunn, 6. Total write-ins, 2. And Member Town Council Special for Kilmarnock District, Thomas Watson, 18, and 0 write-ins. Next item I have is a supplemental appropriation. Need a motion to approve for the account 3102-1006 in the amount of $2,275 for Sheriff's Office ball games.
All right, can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I have another supplemental appropriation to account 3102-5503 in the amount of $123.90.
So move.
All right, got a second?
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item I have is need an appointment to the Community Policy and Management Team, CPMT, Joey Self.
I move that he'd be elevated from the FAP to the CPMT.
All right, I got a motion. Can I have a second?
Second it.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item you have in your packet is the resolution accepting the school board property, 2172 Northumberland Highway, Lotsburg, the old school board office. We would need the resolution approved to move forward if the board so chooses to do so.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and second.
You, one question, you read this?
We prepared it.
Huh?
We prepared it,
Oh,
and,
I don't get you're gonna pick it. I don't get you're gonna find any fault in it.
well, truth be told, we prepared the resolution and the draft deed, and out of respect for the school board and their legal counsel, we ran it by them, and they requested a couple of minor changes to the deed, which we prepared, which were non-substantive. So recommend adoption of the resolution tonight, which is before you, and then the adoption empowers Luttrell to endorse the deed and any other legal instruments necessary to resolve the transaction, subject to approval by legal counsel. So your action tonight will sort out those minor corrections, which we've pretty much already done, and then we'll get it executed and recorded as soon as possible.
All right, anybody else got any questions? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Actually, could we get a roll call vote on that, please?
Want a roll call on
Yes,
this?
sir, please.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brand?
Aye.
Mr. Tomlin?
Aye.
Mr. Jett?
Aye.
Mr. Haney? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next item I have is the Emergency Management Group has been looking at an app called I Am Responding, and you have the information in your packet. And Sheriff Beecham had reached out to the company and was able to get the following information for the board. For the 3-year term, the total cost, if paid up front, would be $12,901. For a 5-year term, would be $19,312. If that's something the board would like to move forward with. Basically, it's an app for the emergency services groups, for the volunteer rescue squads, fire departments, and paid EMS, along with Smith Point Sea Rescue.
Sheriff's Office, would y'all get it too?
So we'll have the dispatch module, but the officers won't have it on their phones. Our new CAD system is on our phone.
Gotcha.
So there's no sense having.
Oh, okay,
two
yeah.
different things.
And 3 years versus 5 years, which would you recommend?
I don't have a choice in either one.
Recommend
Well, I haven't done the math, which one's cheaper?
3 years.
5
too.
years is cheap.
Well, 5 years is cheaper, but if you had an
Per year.
issue per year, but if you
Got
had,
an issue, yes.
I don't have any real problem going 5, but I think there is something needed right now, because there is no way for fire and EMS to get anything other than what comes over the radio. They don't have any kind of address or anything like that.
What kind of time frame they give you for installation time?
Philip actually did all this. I was just the middleman and forwarded it to Luttrell, so I don't have the answer. But it may be in the quote. I'm not sure.
How would that work? Would that still be under Fairfield's name, or would that be transferred to Northumberland's name for Northumberland to operate, or how does that?
Yeah, so Smith Point Sea Rescue and Fairfields would transfer to this plan.
Okay.
And then each agency would have to work out a refund of their own application or subscription if there's going to be one.
Okay. I don't see a time frame, but I can
Did you
check.
put yours in a motion, Tommy?
I don't have a preference. It's needed. We all know that.
Yes.
So obviously, it's about, I did real quick calculations, like $400 and change cheaper by going 5 as opposed to the 3 per year. So if you wanted to save money, that'd be $2,000.
Now, what if we have problems with it? And we locked in the.
Not gonna get any cheaper when you go to renew it.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not with it. We need the system,
I don't know.
whatever number of years is.
This program's been around a right good while.
Has been around a good while.
Westmoreland's used it for a while, I know Essex uses it now. They've had good luck with it. It doesn't take very long to get it up and running. Pretty much once you get the agreement signed and it paid for, they get you the software and you just plug and play. So it's not a lot of time in getting it up and running.
Only thing is, how much is it gonna go up in 3 years or 5 years?
It's software, so you can figure whatever from that.
It's gonna go up.
I move that we go for the 5 years then.
All right.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item I have is, years past, the board has always closed the trash sites at 5 PM on Christmas Eve. Is that something the board would wish to do again?
Yes, unless you have something different.
I don't work on my birthday, so I don't have a problem with them getting off at 5.
No, certainly ought to let them have off at 5.
Well, on Christmas Day?
They're closed on
Christmas
Christmas Day.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Christmas Eve.
at 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
they certainly should be off by 5.
Well, as long as they're there about 5 now. Last year, they were getting off before 9 here.
Yeah.
About 5, I can go along with that, but not before.
All right. Do I have a motion for that?
Move that they be able to be closed, the sites at 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
All right, got a second? Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Last item I have is, I just wanted to make the board aware that we are finalizing the personnel policy. We're starting to get to the end there. I do have some sections that I need to get with the county attorney on for some clarification, but we'll get that to you as soon as possible. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. All right, next is the Board of Supervisors items. We have approval of the check register.
So moved.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, third, whatever.
Second, third, all right. All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, board comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Long.
Yes, I want to congratulate Morgan and Jimmy, and what was the lady from the Tavern?
Corin Becker.
Oh, boy, fantastic. I like the mixture of the county, and everything went well. We had a nice crowd. So, and so also Miss Conley.
Yes.
Sabrina Conley. She spoke before the board, and she was very proud of what happened that day. So, all right, Morgan. Keep the good work up.
Yeah, I just want to add on to what you said. I just want to thank the board for allowing that program to take place and to happen. It was much needed, and I hope next year we can add on to it a little bit. And we had a lot of good help, a lot of good partnership with different groups and organizations that helped it. And, you know, I know the library was a part of it, and I want to thank everybody that was involved. From what I hear, it was a good program.
Yes, it was.
All right, Mr. Tomlin, you got anything?
Yes, I would move that we send to the planning commission that they evaluate short-term rentals to see where they should be permitted in which zones, by right, conditional use, etc. To have them evaluated, make a recommendation, or any ordinance changes, etc. Yes.
All right, do I have a second to it?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I would just like to add, it's sending that to them, it's what you've done. to possibly look at a lot size too.
The whole gamut.
Yeah, it's a requirement for any short-term rentals.
I'm not asking them to be presupposed any particular direction, but to look at the whole thing, you know, different zones, R1, R2, R3, conservation, whether there needs to be any differences at all, or whatever.
All right, any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Thomas.
That's all I got.
Mr. Jett, you got anything?
No, sir.
All right, other thing I have to say is, thank you, Jimmy, thank you, Morgan, for all the planning. This gal here was great. She pulled it off. She was great to be there. Thank you. All right. Next item, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed meeting.
So moved with whatever Mr. Tadlock's
Whatever
going to
Mr.
read.
Tadlock has to say.
I need a motion for the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors to convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 3711A1, for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters. Invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator and county attorney, because they are deemed necessary and their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA Section 2.2, 3712F.
All right, I got a motion, I got a second.
Tom, yeah, do you make the motion?
Yes,
Second.
All right, got a motion, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ladies, gentlemen, we're going to go into the next courtroom over there, and we'll be back shortly. I got a
Second.
motion, got a second? All right, Mr. Tadlock, you got some verbiage for us?
Yes, sir. I need a motion by the Northumberland Board of Supervisors to return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting, were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
All right, Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. Jett?
Aye.
Taney? Aye. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back now. We have, our next item is public comments. Public comments are limited to a 4-minute time period. Anybody would like to speak tonight? Please come up. Anybody like to speak tonight? Awful quiet tonight.
Waiting for the public hearing.
What was that, Jim?
I said they're waiting for the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not public comment.
No one wants to speak? All right, how about anybody in the virtual world? Would they like to speak in the public comment period? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? You got somebody? Have they come on yet? Hello? They raised a hand, but they haven't. Well, get one more.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would you state your name, please?
Yes, sir, I apologize. This is Charlotte Pence. I attended last month's meeting, and I just wanted to personally thank Mr. Tomlin for bringing the short-term rental subject up.
Yes, ma'am?
And that's it.
Well, that's it? Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everybody.
You too now.
You too.
Anybody else in the virtual world would like to speak? else like to speak? All right. I'll close the public comment period then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next item start at 7 p.m., so we got
He's got some things to
30 minutes unless Luttrell has something else.
Just one thing that I forgot to mention during the earlier session is that we have received information from HDH Associates regarding the EVB roof, and he should be getting that information possibly next week to us. So we'll get that to the board at the January meeting and discuss dates when we want to move forward with that, unless the board wants us to just go ahead and get that bid advertised now, but we can certainly get that to the board at the next meeting if you'd like.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Let's get that information
Yeah.
and we'll go from there.
All right, we'll certainly have that for the January meeting for you all.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Tadlock?
That's all I had. Thank you.
That's it, nothing else now?
We're recessed, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be recessed. Go into recess for 30 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting back to order and welcome everybody here tonight. Our first item on our public hearings tonight, and let me back up one minute. Our public hearings, we have a 4-minute time limit to speak. So everyone is welcome to speak, but you have 4 minutes. All right, our first request tonight is a request by Royal Realty LLC owner and Esther Warwick applicant for conditional use permit to allow construction of a dwelling in M1 zone land. Is anybody here tonight representing this public comment? I mean, not public comment, but this issue tonight? Anybody here from Royal Realty?
You want Philip to read what he's got first?
Yeah, but nobody's here yet, is it? Philip, you want to read that?
Sure.
I thought maybe it might be somebody here first.
Huh?
I thought maybe it might be somebody here. Go ahead and read it.
Yeah, I've not heard the advertisement itself, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Read everything that's for us tonight.
We have a request by Royal Realty LLC owner and Esther Warwick applicant for a conditional use permit to allow construction of a dwelling on property zoned N1 light industrial. Property is shown as tax map parcel 10-1-155-B and is located on Lake Road.
All right, thank you, Mr. Morrison. Is anyone here from Royal Realty tonight? No one's here? Was it supposed to be somebody here?
I have not spoken with her since David Miles did her soils work on site.
Do they know that it was a public hearing tonight?
It's on the application itself, but I have not spoken with her.
Okay. Well, what's the pleasure of the board right now? You want to go ahead and have the public hearing, or? All right.
That's what we usually do it.
Since there's no one here tonight, and does the board have any comments before we open the public hearing? No. All right. All right, I will open the public hearing on Royal Realty. I have no one signed up on the sign-up sheet tonight, but does anybody wish to speak on this particular issue? Does anybody like to speak on this particular issue? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak on this particular issue? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak on this particular issue? Nobody? All right. All right, I will close the public hearing then. And what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we table this to next month.
Yeah, table it next month, I second.
That's what I would do. All right, got a motion and a second to table it next month. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. And send them a letter stating
Yep.
need to be present to be acted upon.
All right, our next request is a request by Neil Office Complex. And Mr. Morrison, I think that one is yours.
Yes, sir. We have a request by Neil Office Complex LLC, owner, and River Celebration Center LLC, applicant, for a conditional use permit to allow a private school on property zoned A1 agriculture. Property is shown as tax map parcel 8-1-145A and is located at 226 Village Green Drive in Callier.
All right. Is there anyone here tonight representing this issue? Morrison? Come on up, please, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Would you kind of tell the board what your plans are, sir?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. And on behalf of our faculty, staff, family, and friends of Northern Neck Christian School, if you all could please stand, just be recognized. Thank you very much. And students, get ready to go back and do homework tonight. Thank you very much. It's our great privilege for the past 2.5 years to conduct our school. For the past 2.5 years, we have been a guest of Zion Church, the wonderful congregation and folks at Zion Church at Lottsburg, and several of their clergy are here, and we appreciate, and former clergy are here. We appreciate them being here as well. Fact of the matter is, the past 2.5 years, we have gone from about 5 or 6 students to over 30. And we are ecstatic about that, but we have outgrown our space at Zion, and they've been very gracious to us. We've actually knocked out walls. We have, and we participated in the life of this church, but it's just, they're ready for us to move on. And at least for the past year, we have looked high and low across the Northern Neck. We've enlisted probably every realtor and brokerage house on the Northern Neck and harried and harassed them. But finally, we think we have found a good match for our growth needs, and we're excited about this opportunity. We believe we have a very important niche in terms of school choice for this community that we love. We offer a distinctly Christian education. We focus on Christian values and virtues that we immerse our students in every single day. Our goal is to serve up excellent citizens who can lead and articulate their values in every area of their lives. We hope this evening that if you can see fit, help us to move this along. We have a fairly tight timeline. We have about 90 days to get things in place. We're working closely with Mr. Conaway to make sure that we have a very safe and compliant structure. We're very interested in doing the very best for our students. And that's, again, thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know.
All right, any board members have any questions for Mr. Morrison? Not at this
Not
time?
at this time.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. I will open the public hearing tonight. We have a few people here signed up. Mr. Morrison, I see you signed up, but I don't think you want to speak again, do you? All right. All right, the next one is Mo Dillingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the other members of the board. I'm obviously in favor of the Northern Neck Christian School property being zoned, and like to relate that my wife and I have been volunteering at that school. There are other volunteers, and we've seen the growth of these children there, and it's really magnificent. We've been tutoring some of the children that got in there late because they missed the kindergarten, and so they need a little extra tutoring. So that involved us, and believe me, that is really rewarding. And when we see the things that are here, the news, daily news, we get upset. We think everything's so hopeless. This gives us a guiding light to see that there's something we can do to make a difference. And when you see these little children smile and they're singing and they're reciting the Latin verses and all those things, it's really amazing. You see the benefits of sound and loving education. The parent involvement is a big part of that. I don't think Reverend Morrison mentioned that part, but the parents are very involved. You'll see a bunch of them here tonight. For instance, we were tutoring a little girl with some reading, and marked in her book was her mother's initials where she had worked with her the night before. And I have to commend that mother for doing that. And we have to get the parents involved. It's a way to respond positively to the bad news, as I said. This is a blessing to the county. I think that property, it'd be great to see that property be fully utilized and well taken care of, and in such a beneficial fashion. I see it kind of as lighting a candle rather than cursing the darkness that we see every day. And I think there's a bunch of those little candles here tonight. Mama Leslie, how many do we have here tonight, you know?
I'd say about 8 or 9.
They would stand up, but you probably couldn't see them. At any rate, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak for this school.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next person on the list is Renee Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and to the board. As you know, you can see from me, I'm part of Northern Neck Christian School. And I just stand here and say that at this time, I know a few of you here, you have the opportunity, it rests in your hand to impact this community even more in the Northern Neck. I am a product of the public schools, so I'm not here to say that that's not good, but it's good for the Northern Neck to have diversity and give our parents the opportunity to choose where they want to send their kids. We know in the public schools you don't have the privilege of calling on God or praying. But those that are believers coming to Northern Christian School, we have the opportunity to be able to act on what we believe on. We're raising up children from the ages 3 and up who can tell you right now who their sovereign God is and do it boldly. So I just come to all of you tonight and say I think I know most of you are believers, and I can rest on that now that you will make the right choice for Northern Neck, that we be able to have a place. We've been at Zion, but the time has come for advancement. And so I know you're into advancing the Northern Neck, so here's your opportunity to further advance the Northern Neck with some great young people who are being raised up to love God and to be great leaders in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next person is Hoyt Whelan.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I had an opportunity a year or two ago to volunteer at the school, and my job was to help a young person with their reading skills. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to see classes being handled, teachers doing their job, students performing, and based on my observation, it was a really good school where the kids had an opportunity to learn and receive. I don't know, I can't speak to the public schools, but my guess is that the kids at that school were getting a lot more personal attention than they were in the public school, and than they would in the public school. And my guess is they were the better for it. I can't speak to the property itself. I can just say I was there 30 years ago when it was a facility for handling golfers, and that's why I was there. But I'm familiar with the structures, and I think they'd be appropriate with appropriate changes to handle a school such as the Northern Neck Christian School. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jan Beckett, I see you scratched through. Do you want to speak?
Yes, I didn't realize that.
All right, okay. All right. All right. Deidre Jones.
I'm here because I have two beautiful twins in Northern Neck Christian School. They have been enrolled since the last year. This is their second year joining. This school has really impacted my life and their life. I can't honestly imagine sending my kids to a public school since I've experienced this firsthand. These kids are 5 years old and can read you over 20 scriptures. They have really impacted, like I said, not just my life, but my kids as well. And I really sincerely hope that you all bless the community with this outcome for these people. Northern Neck Christian School is a great place overall to be with. The staff is amazing. You know, any other place, you know, you may have any problems or anything, but these people have been more than gracious up front to come and talk to you about any and everything, any concern you have. And we've all been able to work it out in the most gracious way possible. And I'm very blessed that my kids were able to join, and I sincerely hope that they can continue to join. I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, I don't have anybody else on the sheet that signed up, but would anybody else like to speak?
Can you hear me from here, or should I go to the microphone?
I think we can hear you.
Okay. It's kind of my vocation.
Okay,
so yeah. And we love the school. But I had an opportunity about 3 weeks ago to go and do a morning chapel with them. And it was, I mean, I was just moved. These kids, usually when, especially that age group, you ask questions, they're all looking down. But no, they were raising their hands because they were proud they knew the answers to the questions I was asking. It really surprised me, and I was just really blessed by that. I give you a challenge. If you have any doubts about it, this coming Saturday night at 6 o'clock in Light of Christ, they're having these children are putting on a Christmas program. It's free. We hope you'll come and see them.
So it's Saturday night at what time? 6 p.m.
Light of Christ. 9 9500 Northumberland Highway.
And it's written on the sign too.
All right. All right, would anybody else like to speak? No one else would like to speak? All right. Yes, ma'am.
I had work with the Good News Club.
Would you state your name, please, for the
It's
record?
Constance McDearman, and I work in the public schools with the Good News Club that meets there. And recently, we've been able to mesh the two groups, the public school kids with the Northern Neck Christian School. And I can tell you that the impact of these kids coming in with our kids in that school made a huge difference. I mean, in the past couple weeks, we have seen the kids in the public school come out with learning their Bible verses like you wouldn't believe. And it's just blown us all away because these children are just steeped in it. And you know, things rub off on kids and they want to be like others. And I happen to have a young man, Blaze, here in my group, and he's just a joy each and every week and challenges me quite a bit to be even a better shepherd to his group. So I thank you all, and I hope that you will see fit to go forward with this, because this is not just for these children, but those that are coming along. And if we look back in our times when we grew up in school, it was different. And we had the opportunity for a lot more. And we owe these kids the opportunity to have what we have. So I thank you. I appreciate everything.
All right, thank you. All right, would anyone else like to speak? All right, anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? No one? All right. I will close the public hearing and the matters before the board now.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we bless this school by approving their request so they can continue to spread the blessings for that community.
With the proposed conditions?
With the proposed conditions.
And
Mr. Marston, would you read the conditions, please, sir?
Yes, sir. The suggested conditions, if approved, are that all required permits and/or licenses shall be obtained from all regulatory agencies, and the building shall comply with the Uniform Statewide Building Code.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. There you go, Mr. Governor Marston. All right. Next item, we have a request for consideration of a siting agreement. And Mr. Marston, I'll let you take care of that.
We have a request for the consideration of a siting agreement pursuant to 15.2-2316.7 Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, related to the request for a conditional use permit by Community Power Group, LLC, for a utility-scale solar energy facility on 26 acres leased. The property is shown as portions of tax map parcels 37-1-195 and 195A, adjacent to 642 Fairport Road.
All right. Is there anyone here from Community Power?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Rachel Boots. I spoke a few months ago now and just wanted to go over the siting agreement that we had prepared and presented. I put together a short slideshow to go over the siting agreement terms, and then also just a refresher on the conditional use permit regarding the solar facility. Is there a clicker for this slideshow? Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, so we prepared and are pleased to offer the county with this siting agreement opportunity a voluntary payment through the life cycle of the solar facility on a per megawatt basis on a yearly payment schedule. So the terms of this agreement have been reviewed by Mr. Gregory, your county attorney, and are standard 2 solar agreements. Siting agreements are more recent in the Virginia solar industry, and so we're happy to be able to offer that to this county. So the total for the siting agreement comes out to $154,205,000, and that can be used for capital improvement funds as designated by this board. This is in addition to the Virginia revenue sharing model. It's the tax model that the Code of Virginia has put in place for solar facilities. So the revenue sharing model is $1,400 per megawatt per year. And that comes out with an escalation every 5 years. And that comes out to $416,260. And that's the tax revenue associated with the project. So a total contribution and tax payment of more than $500,000 to the county as a result of this project. Next slide, please. So as Mr. Marston stated, this is in relation to the conditional use permit request from earlier this summer regarding the 5 megawatt community solar project. So one important distinction we wanted to make is that we are a community solar project, which means local residents, businesses, the school presented here tonight, they would be able to subscribe to the solar facility to not only be getting clean energy, but also getting a guaranteed discount on their electric bill. So we proposed this back in July when we had our hearing. We are compliant with the code at that time and are looking forward to hearing your thoughts that have developed since then. Next slide goes over what I just said about community solar. So it's generated here, right in your county. It gets put into the utilities infrastructure and then credited back to anyone who chooses to subscribe with that discount. And the next slide. Also, as part of our conditional use permit, I just wanted to remind everyone of the conditions and the best practices that Community Power Group puts in place with the pollinator-friendly ground cover. So that is part of our conditional use permit and site plan application, where the entire fenced area would have pollinator-friendly ground cover, which is a great benefit for the adjacent farms, which Mr. Haney, the landowner, plans to continue operating. We also use game fence, which is detailed in our site plan as 7-foot high, game fencing wire and 8-foot wooden post. We find that less obtrusive than you might see a chain link fence to look. And the next slide, please. Just a refresher of some of the other aspects that you might be concerned with is we've done a glare study to show that there's not any glare associated with the nearby roadways, which are shown with the green lines. If you're driving by the facility, you won't experience any glare from the panels because they actually follow the sun throughout the day. They're single axis trackers. And then this study also didn't account for the additional the vegetative screening that will further screen the facility. We also, following a study that was done by the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, can confirm there will be no ambient noise to the surrounding residents due to the fact that the nearest home is more than 300 feet away from the closest inverter, and at 64 feet away from an inverter, it's designated as same as a quiet rural area at night. And then the last slide, decommissioning. I know that was a big question that you guys had raised regarding also the Weldon Cooper Center report that came out in August. So I did want to commend you guys for doing a great job with your code. The Weldon Cooper Center calls Northumberland County out specifically for having a strong decommissioning code. And we, as part of our conditional use permit, had agreed to follow all of the aspects of that code, and a decommissioning bond is put up front so that at the end of the project life cycle, there's a surety at the county that it would never be abandoned, and it is removed at the end of its useful life. And then the last slide is just some of the additional benefits that we have discussed at the previous meetings as not examples of what we intend to do at the site. We've agreed to put a 15,000 gallon tank at the existing well on site. I know fire safety is a concern not only for the solar facility, but for that region of the area as well, given that it's pretty far from the firehouse. So allowing the fire emergency services to access that water is something we're happy to allow as a condition of our approval. Also, solar facilities actually reduce the amount of nitrogen and other chemical runoff from entering the nearby Chesapeake Bay and waterways, because we're removing that fertilizer and chemicals that are otherwise used on a yearly basis on agricultural lands. So we're taking that 26 acres and generating clean energy and also giving the watershed a break in that section of land. The landowner has also agreed to relocate the tractor trailers that are parked along that private drive, as was requested by a neighbor at a previous meeting. And, most importantly, we're providing long-term stable income to a landowner who he's here tonight and would like to speak as well. And he plans to continue farming the rest of his farmland and be an agricultural member in this community. So that was an overview of kind of the conditional use permit and all the conditions that we've put in place in hopes of an approval. And this public hearing is for the siting agreement, which we are happy to provide to the county as a voluntary payment in addition to the project revenue sharing. And that's all. Thank you.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Boots?
First slide. It goes, it is $570,000. How much is it? What is that spaced over? 30 years, 40 years?
30 years.
30 years. So that's a big number. But if you run it over 30 years, it's not a lot coming to the county.
So the first year payment, there's an upfront payment of the siting agreement, which is actually the largest payment, comes out to about $50,000 in the first year. That's just from the siting agreement. Then the years following that, the siting agreement curtails and the revenue sharing actually escalates. So they flip-flop to a total of the $570,000.
Let's do another couple slides. One more. Your last bullet point.
Yes.
The end result is a lower electricity bill for subscribers. Can you give us a guesstimate on how much less the electricity bill is going to be for a person in this county?
Yeah, we see 5 to 10%.
Okay. And from my understanding, the mail that I've received, Dominion and the Northern Electric have just increased that rate. So that's, it's not really a huge significant decrease in their bill. And I guess the point that I'm trying to get at is some of the rumor mill around that some of the people in the county thought that they were going to receive a pretty significant decrease in their bill, and that's not so.
There is the community solar garden will have 50% to low income, and low income get an additional 10% discount on their bill. So low income subscribers will have the largest benefit, but there is a 5 to 10% benefit seen across the board, and over the years that does add up.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Tom?
If I remember right, the State Corporation Commission when they were dealing with this, didn't they set a, like a $55 fee that
Yeah.
everybody has to have regardless?
The minimum bill, yeah, so that is only, that's not enforced for low-income subscribers.
Your pollinator plants,
Mhm.
how much do they grow, do they die, et cetera, in the year? Are they perennials, annuals, or what?
Yeah, we would like to work with, I think, the Northern Neck Master Gardeners on a good seed mix for the area that hasn't been, finalized or set in stone. We want to work with local plants and have a maintenance agreement with a local landscaper so that there's no big dirt patches that develop.
Well, I'm more concerned about fires inside the thing, because I know that has been a major concern. In other counties, they've had fires within the solar farm itself.
Yeah, the Virginia Department of Forestry has some species that they consider fire-wise. They have a pamphlet on fire-wise species. So we would look to that to try and incorporate the local fire-safe ground cover and mix in the more floral pollinator-friendly with a good seed mix there. And then the way that our site is laid out, we have enough spacing between panels to drive a fire truck in the instance of an emergency.
What kind of buffer are you going to have from side properties in the event of a fire spreading to adjacent properties?
Right, so we're 200 feet back from the road, which is as what required in your code, and then the nearest residence is more than 300 feet away.
Yeah, but if Mr. Haney is going to be farming, he's got wheat right adjacent to that, and you get a fire, that could go over into that. And
Right,
really
so we have a 20-foot buffer between the edge of the panel to our fence, and then between the fence and we have the landscape buffer, and then that would be the closest, I guess, farming after that. So more than 30 feet away from the panels.
Well, I can tell you, a fire goes, they blow embers and stuff. Anyway, I heard you mention about wooden post. Most everything I've seen has been metal.
The game fencing posts are pressure-treated wood.
Is that going to be ground contact?
Yes.
So the problem is if it
Like
doesn't,
piled into the ground.
yeah, I know that, but if it's not ground contact, it's going to rot real quick. So, like the one on 360 right before you, between Warsaw and Tappahannock, everything I'm seeing is metal posts.
Metal, okay.
So what you're presenting is a totally different model than other ones that I've seen. The ones over in Gloucester, on the way to Gloucester on 14, they're metal. The one above Gardy's Mill Pond's metal. The one in Warsaw is metal. So I mean, I'm just seeing a difference in the construction style.
Yeah, we don't do the chain link fence.
Yeah, so I'll just chime in, Mike Borkowski with Community Power Group, for the record, so my name is there. So, we're happy to do chain link fences. What we find is the majority of communities out there don't want it. They want the game fences.
Well, I'm not worried about the chain link. I'm just saying the post by and of itself is a different material than what other solar farms have.
Yeah, so we're using these across the board now. We're using them in New York, Illinois, Maryland, and then that pressure treated wood is pushed pretty far down. We have a wrapping on it that goes down. So we haven't seen the rotting issues, but if it's we haven't anticipated recurrence, and that's part of
All
our
I know is I
maintenance
see
plan.
Dominion Power and Northern Neck, they have to replace their posts every so often. And
Yeah,
they're currently solid treated ground contact.
Yeah, there is a replacement mechanism. They're not going to last the whole entire time. So, but that I believe is part of our maintenance plan to ensure that fence is safe on store.
That's all I had right now, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ron?
Not right now.
Jim, you got anything?
I got one more.
Go ahead.
CPG is the applicant. And in reading through all of your documentation, it pretty much states that CPG is going to be responsible for following through with environmental plans, decommissioning, and all of that. So, like I said, CPG is the applicant. What happens if CPG cease to exist? Who's responsible?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So those requirements are attached to the permit. So in order for the facility to operate, whoever's operating it has to adhere to those permit requirements. And then to the extent, inside your language, I forget the exact timelines or whatever, if the facility is identified as not operating for a certain period of time, decommissioning kicks in and the bond is available and everything gets pulled out.
Suppose the facility is sold in another
Carries
company.
with the permit.
Yep.
You cannot, it has to carry with the permit, absolutely. Yep.
So,
It's a good question.
All right, on your game fence, would you describe that so everybody would know exactly what a game fence
Yeah, for
entails?
sure. So if you could go, yeah, right there. So there you have the wooden fences, and then you can't really see it, and that's kind of the purpose of it. But if you look more along the grass line, there's the thin wire, that's almost like chicken wire that goes across. And it's the type of thing that you would find in most agricultural environments where you would have different types of livestock or other types of things in that field. And we just find that it's so much better on the eye, you don't really see it, and it's more a part of, the surrounding environment.
All right, how about spraying along the fence line to keep the vegetation from climbing up the fence?
Yeah, so it's another good question. So as a part of the maintenance plan, in addition to the parameters that Rachel had suggested for the pollinator-friendly ground cover, in that seed mix, it is a low-growing seed mix. And so over the course of the first couple of years, there's, the first year it might be 2 mowings, the second year probably 2 mowings again, the third year 1 mowing. And then after a period of time, it actually doesn't even require mowing anymore because the seed mix stays nice and low throughout the course of the year. And so we don't have spraying, I guess we just haven't, in all our facilities, we haven't run into any issues where we have stuff climbing. So,
I guess
Yeah,
climbing could offer.
Yeah, your wildflower mix can be in different heights, the flowers can be.
yeah,
And they should be coming back every year from
Yes.
seed and also from root.
yep,
So they will reseed this, or some of them will grow on up.
absolutely, yeah. They definitely, they reseed, but the mixes that we get are in that kind of 1 foot-ish, 18 inches,
So
12
you're
to 18 inches.
using a loaded ground cover.
Yeah, exactly. And they get really, that's the thing, because they're reseeding every year, the seeds it gets really dense and weeds and other things don't grow.
Mhm. All right, on your siting agreement, I know there was a $57,000 payment the first year.
Yep.
After that, for 30 years, it's somewhere between about $3,400 to $3,000 per year. That's not much money when it comes to the county budget. It's just not even a drop in the bucket. Now, the revenue sharing is $7,700 to about $12,000 as it escalates up in the sharing part. But the $12,000 is 30 years.
Yep.
And that's still not a lot of money. You look at it, that your max you'd be getting would be about $15,000 after 30 years, or right at 30 years. It's not much money coming back to the county. So when you say we're going to get $570,000, that's not a lump sum. But your revenue sharing stops at year 31. So, and what happens if this company goes bankrupt, or whichever company gets it? That revenue sharing is cut off.
So there's a couple of things to unpack there. A lot of good questions. So one is the revenue sharing. These are both state-oriented programs as far as what they're suggesting, the tax methodology approach for solar. A lot of thought and went into that from the regulator's perspective, understanding and taking into consideration the finances of the solar facility. Solar facilities aren't big profit centers. They have locked-in revenue and locked-in costs for a period of 30 years.
I understand
And so they take a percentage of that. It turns out to, in other states, to be a little bit higher than what would be normally personal property taxes, like what we see in Maryland and the likes. And so, yes, it's not a huge number that you might see from a big corporation or everything like that, but from the solar's perspective, it's actually, not an insignificant amount of the profit. And they look at that to ensure that from a financial standpoint, the project remains viable. But they also want to make sure it's producing something substantially more than gets produced if that farm were to remain in agricultural purposes, which, there really isn't much else that would go on that property except for agriculture. And so that's, I guess, a little bit more explanation as to why those numbers are what they are. It's something that other counties and around, it's just how much people pay. It's the same amount. We're not asking for any discount from what the state has suggested. The other component is if whoever, as long as this permit is in place, that revenue is being shared, period, end of story. If the solar facility were to be decommissioned, yes, that revenue arranging would stop and go back to agriculture, but that's because the solar facility just isn't there anymore operating.
And also, if that project is changed from commercial, as long as it's commercial, it's going to be generating a revenue back to the county. If it changes its commercial standing, it doesn't generate anything.
As long as those solar panels are in, so two things. One, we can't do that. So our interconnection agreement is as a community solar farm. It cannot operate as anything other than a community solar farm from Dominion's perspective. Regulatorily, it is a community solar farm, and that is all it can be. We cannot switch it around in any way. We cannot go into the wholesale market. It is against utility regulations. It is either a community solar farm or it doesn't exist.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions?
I got a question on it. Referring to what Richard was speaking about, the siting agreement and the revenue share, excuse me for my voice, this is based on a 5 megawatt facility.
Yes, sir.
Maximum.
Yep.
And that's what these figures are
It
based
can
on.
never be more than 5 megawatts.
But how about if it's 2 megawatts?
If it were 2 megawatts.
I mean, will that revenue sharing go to 40%?
It would go to 40%, yes, but we would not do this facility it will be 5 megawatts, period. That is what our interconnection arrangement is. We filed our interconnect, we can't deviate from that. If we were to go below that, we would have to refile everything because.
So it's going to be 5 megawatts?
It is going to be 5 megawatts.
Right from the beginning?
Right from the beginning, and it will never get bigger, and it will never get smaller. That is it. That is what our.
So this revenue sharing won't vary then to 40%?
No, it won't.
Which is still, isn't very much to me.
It is, and again, these are the state-oriented numbers. This is the state-suggested numbers is what we have put forth.
Hey, Ron, let me just make one comment. I don't want to cut you off. Your solar panels lose their efficiency over time. So they're producing 100% today. 10 years from now, they could be producing 90%. I'm just numbers. I'm just taking.
Well, I can give you those numbers.
All right. As that happens, your megawatts are reduced.
It's complicated. It doesn't work. The megawatts never changes. Just the amount of kilowatt hours being produced by those megawatts does go down over a period of time.
All right, but how can you produce the same amount of kilowatts when the panels are not at 100%?
Yeah, so the revenue sharing arrangement takes into account the decline in kilowatt hours over time. So the numbers that she presented up there on that revenue sharing shows that decline, which
Yeah, you showed the decline, but you said that plant would produce 5 megawatts all the time.
Yeah.
But if your panels are reducing in their capacity of output, it's not going to produce 5 megawatts.
Yeah, so the way So it is a nameplate rating of 5 megawatts AC is its nameplate rating. And that nameplate rating is actually the total representative of the total number of kilowatt hours that can be produced in a 24-hour period. And solar panels are approximately 24% efficient. Because, so they're only producing at any given point in time, 24% of a 24-hour count a day, if that makes any sense, because at night it's obviously not producing anything, right? And so that percentage, that efficiency percentage, starts at 24 on day one, and the efficiency percentage goes down slightly to closer to 21 by year 30. And so that efficiency curve as to how much that 5 megawatts is produced, how many kilowatt hours that 5 megawatts is producing each year is taken into account in that revenue share arrangement.
Yeah. Summertime, you have a longer period of sunshine, so you're going to produce more energy. Wintertime, like it is now, when it's basically dark at 5.
That's right. Producing a lot less.
You have lost 4 hours.
That's right. That's right. And that 24% efficiency takes all that into account. How it works. And that's solar kind of across the board. But yeah.
Okay.
But it still maintains that megawatt nameplate capacity. It will always be 25 megawatt nameplate capacity. It's just an 5 megawatt capacity. It's just that the efficiency of those 5 megawatts does decrease over time.
All right, anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I got several. Then if you're having a decrease in your output because of time period, is the amount of credit that customers receive correspondingly go down too?
No, because
well, if you're producing less, is the credit going to be less?
So the way the net metering works is as follows. We have the solar facility has a meter on it.
Yeah.
That meter spins backwards, and at the end of every month, the bill that we get is a giant negative. And then municipalities, schools, individuals, low-income families, they subscribe to the solar facility, and they basically buy those credits. So if they had a $1,000 bill, if the county has a $1,000 bill, right? The county would say, hey, I want to subscribe for $9,045 worth of credits, because they have to have a $55 bill, right?
900.
And what? Was it 50?
You said $1,000 and then.
Yeah, and then down to $945 because they have to have a $55.
Yeah, there's a minimum, state minimum
So then
requirement.
they subscribe, they say, hey, we want $945 worth of credits every month, right? And so then they buy those at a, let's call it a 10% discount, so $800 some odd dollars. They get their discount, able to claim themselves as, green, by reliant on renewable energy. And so what happens is, you wake up 10 years later, we'll just have one less subscriber because there won't be as many credits to dole out to people. But people's kind of monthly credits stay the same for those subscribers. And there's some amount of turnover every year. If that
Now,
makes sense.
suppose you have a situation, everybody sounds, it sounds great, and you get subscribers who total 7 megawatts. You're then selling more megawatts than you can produce.
Yeah, we can only subscribe to what we're able to deliver, so.
All right, just want to make sure.
Yep, yeah.
And
people only pay for what credit they receive.
all right.
Yeah.
Looking at the memorandum of solar facility siting agreement that would be recorded in the clerk's office.
Yes.
This is between you and the county. But I don't see anything in here that in the event Community Power transferred, sold your entity, or was assumed by somebody. I don't see anything that's saying it's on successor heirs and assigns.
Right, so that's an interesting question. I'd let the lawyer speak to that. Can't imagine imagine that's not
I didn't,
covered
I'm
in
sorry,
siding.
I was speaking with Mr. Tadlock. What was the question?
The memorandum of solar siting facility, in my reading, I do not see anything that says this is required of any successor heirs or signs.
That's addressed in the siting agreement?
In the siting, but that's not recorded. The memorandum is.
Right, but the memorandum references
Okay.
the siting agreement and is basically a placeholder for the siting agreement.
Okay,
So
I
the
just-
siting agreement is what governs, and it is, it does subject.
Yeah, I saw that.
successors
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
sons.
Just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the surrounding counties that have this same system?
Yes. Lancaster has one off the top of my head, but I know there are others. I just know that they're just recently signed one or two.
Dinwiddie County?
Yeah. Dinwiddie County?
Dinwiddie.
Oh, Dinwiddie.
Richmond County is doing major ones too.
Yeah.
Do you have any other projects ongoing right now?
A lot. We're doing a landfill for, it's the first landfill in the state with Charlottesville, and they do not have a siting agreement. We have the landfills in Norfolk. They do a siting agreement.
What do you mean a landfill? That's where you're built to that?
Yeah, so we're putting the solar on top of the
It'll be
landfill.
easy to decommission that, won't it?
Yeah. It's a closed landfill, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, the problem is doing stuff on landfill can be a problem too with DEQ.
Yeah, DEQ loves it, actually. They like it a lot. We have to do a lot to make sure it doesn't pierce the cap.
Yep.
A lot in
Yep.
that regard, and that's just one of the things that we've done a lot of them in a variety of states. But it's a great way to generate, for municipalities to generate revenue from otherwise idle parcel of land. And then, I don't know, we have 6 or 7 other greenfield projects that are very similar to this one.
All right. Question here. Can the county renegotiate after 25 years if you start replacing panels to have the solar field last longer? And the end date for the CU permit?
So, yes, they could. They could renegotiate. So I would have to look at some of the details to make sure, with your attorney, I would suggest, he would be more apt to represent that.
That may constitute a change to the conditional use permit requires what they're doing now.
Yes.
Changing it out at the end of the term would require a renewal of the CUP, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, okay, right, thank you. You cleared the mechanisms for me. So ours, and this is going to answer one of your questions too, from an earlier question, which is our CUP will likely have conditioned upon it a siting agreement. So
Yeah.
we cannot operate without the siting agreement. So come year 35, we don't have it, we got to come back to the table to get one, right? And then our siting agreement is also very specific to the size and the layout, and if that were to change, then our siting agreement needs updating, and then if our siting agreement updates, then it's a trickle effect, then everything has to get renegotiated.
So yeah, you have one kind of acting as a check on the other.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
they're not in compliance with their siting agreement, then they're in violation of the CUP. If they're not in compliance with the CUP, then they're in violation of the siting agreement.
So, right, and that's why these two things are in tandem, and this one's before the other one, so that it's, they can be tagged together. Which is pretty helpful.
All right, another question. On that 15,000-gallon water storage tank,
Yeah.
would that need to be removed for the decommissioning?
No, not from our perspective. From our perspective, that is a asset that we need to ensure is in place and maintained during the life of the solar facility. But after that is there, we would not, that is not a part of the decommissioning plan. So that asset would remain in existence for its tenure, for the life of the asset.
All right.
But that does have to be maintained throughout the life of the solar facility.
Yeah, that's got to have maintenance onto it.
Yeah, yep.
So who's going to be doing the maintenance?
Right.
So there, we have a maintenance plan, and that maintenance plan is a part of the conditional use permit, so that will be maintained every year. We'll have local contractors on the electrical side and other things that become aware of these assets and are able to facilitate them. Now, that person may change over the course of, I'm assuming very much so, it'll change over the course of the 30 years.
How close would these people be that you could contact when you need them?
Yeah, all these things, we have local, you gotta have local people, so you have appropriate response times. And then those local people is a part of our, the fire safety plan, that their names and informations are available in a party, and available for safety services.
I think we had this conversation before, and this question was asked before, that we had a difference of opinion on what's local. You're gonna have someone in the county, someone in the state, someone in another state. What is defined as local?
Yeah, somebody in the county.
Someone in the county.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
All right, anyone else have any questions now before I open the public hearing?
Yeah, I got one question. You mentioned, and I think it got mentioned by Mr. Gregory too, about the conditions mentioning the siting agreement. Is my correct reading this? I don't see any mention of the siting agreement in the zoning conditions.
Gregory?
Yeah, that's, what? I didn't see it either. Because as Mr. Gregory, they're working in tandem, they need to be referencing each other.
Yeah, that would certainly be our intention, so I'll respond to it.
Any comments, Ms. Mosley?
Yeah, the siting agreement is not referenced in these newly drafted conditions. They were in the previous ones, but that was in regards to the negotiation.
So we're going to need some language as far as the conditions
Have to do some change.
Yeah, you
Yep.
could add that condition.
Yeah, it absolutely should be there.
Comments, Mr. Gregory?
No, I don't. I would just ask Mr. Marston to, if they're amenable to that, we could do that tonight.
Yeah, we're absolutely amenable. It was my expectation that it was, so.
You got anything left?
General questions or related to that?
Related to all of this?
Just, I guess, one clarification on Article 2 under page 3 on the payment structure. It has payment. CPG will make payments to the county as set forth in Exhibit B, each a payment and collectively the payments. The payments are based on an upfront payment of $11,450 per megawatt in year 1, $687 per megawatt in years 2 through 23, and $611 per megawatt in years 24 through 30. The payment shall begin no later than 6 months following the date on which the project commences commercial operation, the commercial operation date, on a prorated basis for that year. The regular payments shall be due and payable on or before December 1st each year thereafter until the termination date as described in Article 5. Just trying to get some clarification. So would the payment be for the full $11,450 the first year, or if the solar field started, say, in September, would that payment get prorated? Okay. And that's not, when it said prorated, I wasn't sure if it was megawatts.
That's just so when we make that upfront, that's on the annual payments that recur each year. So if the facility went live in, June, let's call it, right, then you're only making or however the fiscal years get cut up, you're making 6 months worth of payments, and then next year you're making a full year, and then at the end you make that last 6 months.
Okay, you still get that full amount?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, any other questions? Just a minute. All right, if no other questions. Thank you, and let me open the public hearing. Now I'll open the public hearing for First person I have on the sign-up sheet is Philip Haney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm thankful that you all agreed to approve this Christian school because the children are our future. And just like the children are our future, renewable energy is our future. I'm currently involved with a 10-year cleanup project down in Hopewell. And that project is where Dominion Power has been burning coal, and they buried it in the ground. And what happened, the line has erupted, and this ash is going right in the James River. Renewable energy is the future. And when I look around, I see surrounding counties. I'm involved with a 500-acre project in Richmond County. I look in Westmoreland County, property that I own is adjoining solar farms. In Lancaster County, we have been approved to do solar farms. I worry about the future of Northumberland County because where there's no vision, the people shall perish. I was involved this weekend with Omega Protein. Had to go to Fort Monroe because Omega is becoming under attack and people really want to put them out of business, change their fishing, where they can fish and what they can do. I mean, if we lose Omega, what future do these young kids have in Northumberland County? Where are they going to work? What are they going to do? We must look out for the next generation, create opportunities. I hear that, well, maybe this is not much money and this is not much, $500,000 is not much money, but you're only talking about a small portion of land. If I keep farming it, you're only going to get $30,000 out of it. So you look at 30 versus 500, it's a little bit money. But the thing of it is, we need to get on board. We're the last county in the northern neck to have solar. And we need a vision. Electric cars are going to be here whether we need them or whether you want them or not. And, clean energy is the future. And I think the county needs to start participating. The good part about this is a small project. Is everything going to be perfect? Probably not. But we can start with this and get it right before we do a bigger project. So we got to start somewhere and with something, and I think this is a great opportunity. I appreciate the time you all have taken to protect the county and protect me as the landowner. But, we got to start somewhere and we got to get started and we got to be thinking long term about what opportunities are we going to create for these children that we're raising. We build schools, educate kids, and after they graduate, they can't come back home to work. So we need to change our mindset and do something to help these kids. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next person on the sign-up sheet is Mandel Jackson.
Good night. Not no good evening no more. Wasn't going to say nothing, but I sit there and I prayed over it, and we're not going to bring religion in this and politics, but I believe in putting God in front of everything I do. No, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a deacon. I'm a sinner saved by grace. But I was born and raised in this county. Some of y'all don't know me, a couple of y'all do know me. My grandfather was a farmer, my father was a farmer, and I was a part-time farmer. I left here, my wife, she's from Sunnybank. I live down Front Hill Road. I left here in '89, bought a dump truck, went to work in Maryland. When I left here in Northumberland County, it was Northumberland County. What I want to know is, a person told me something, y'all know him very well, John Burton. said, if you follow your daddy's footsteps, you'll be a good farmer. But you got to follow your daddy's footsteps. And my father worked with his father. Long story. Anyhow, he was a good man, and he's gone. He moved on. So I come back to Northumberland County. All the counties around us had progress. Why is Northumberland County the last county? And you know your history. Everybody knows history. All the counties came out of Northumberland County. We the mother county. And I want to know, why is Northumberland County the last county? If I want to buy a pickup truck, where do I have to go? If I want to go get some clothes, where do I have to go? So I said, and I came back home, moved on the farm, got my tractor, raised a garden, and I said, well, there's nothing in Northumberland County. So what's wrong with it? We got intelligent, smart, hard-working people here. I see it. I work for VDOT, so I don't cover every inch of Northumberland County. I said, now on Ridge Road, so they're bringing a solar panel. I said, what the heck, how come we can't do this? What's the problem? So anyhow, I did some searching and thinking, and there's a lot of tree cutting going on in this county. I haven't seen it like this before. I said, my God, if they start regulating loggers, that'd be a problem. I love trees, and I see them cutting a lot of trees, and but that's business. Understand that you can't tell a homeowner, a landowner, you can't cut your trees down. But I see where it's coming to that. And I see a lot of trees being cut down, a lot of logging. And y'all know it, you see a lot of logging going on in this county. I'm gonna be generous, in the next 3 or 4 years, there's not gonna be no trees in Northumberland County other than around the wetland. You might face facts. It's not, because people get a lot of money off logging, I understand that. I cut trees off my property, and it's good. But this has been going on for 3 months now, y'all. 3 months. It's time to bring this to an end. I can't tell you what to do. Y'all know more about this than anyway, but it's time to bring this to an end. You had good questions. All of y'all had good questions and concerns. I understand that. But what's the problem? I mean, Lancaster County, Westmoreland County, Middlesex, even Richmond County. How come they can do it and we cannot do it? So I understand you want to make sure that everything will be covered. You got a good point there. I got that. Y'all smart, very intelligent. But what's the deal? I mean, what is the problem that we can't move forward? And I know my time winding down. And I understand the people that live down there on the property, when they come out from their home, they don't see no solar panels. I got that. But Mr. Haney can't farm no more. He said the property, you know who's gonna buy it, don't you? If another farmer don't buy it, developers. So what you want to see, solar panels or 300 or 400 homes looking in your house and looking in your face, and then you're gonna have the problem of who's your neighbor. So we gotta, you gotta make a decision. And I'm not gonna tell y'all what to do, but it's time to bring this to a head. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next person is Ann and Dave Thomas.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening.
Chairperson and members. I submitted written testimony, and I assume that you all have received that. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of other things. When I had done the math on the siting agreement, the $154,000 was an optimistic figure, the way I read it. If in fact there is a proration, it could be as low as $17,366 that you would get. So if that's not the intention of the language, then I think that language in any siting agreement needs to be clarified. With regard to solar and green energy, a lot of the projects that Community Power promotes are done on landfills, brownfields, and as I've shared with you before, as Northumberland considers where solar fits into its long-term planning, rather than residential areas, waterfront proximity, or even farmland, we should be encouraging solar to be located in those kinds of areas. We've heard comment about property owners and what they should be able to do, anything they want with their property. Well, when you purchase the property, or even if you inherit it, you inherit a zoning that's put in place to protect the citizens in general. And a property owner, myself included, can do whatever you wish with that property within the parameters available under residential to waterfront zoning, which is what the property in question is zoned. There are other options, such as conservation easements that offer some protections as well. In the end, I think that you're to be congratulated on the thoughtful pace and consideration that you've taken, and that you are developing concurrently some better guidelines for future solar considerations. But I come back to where we started with this particular project, and the overriding objection, really it should be the primary one, is that it is in an area that is zoned waterfront residential. I know you have a difficult decision, and I respect your deliberation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next person on the list is Blake Cox.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Blake Cox. I'm one of the founders of a nonprofit called Energy Right. Great to be back with you all tonight. I was back with you here in September. I founded Energy Right to educate around energy developed the right way on the local level, with a focus on property rights and conservative ideals, including an all-of-the-above approach to energy. We really want to focus on bringing a common sense voice to this energy discussion on a local level. So when I attended the September Board of Supervisors meeting, I heard a lot of questions specifically about the decommissioning language in your current solar ordinance. Most of these questions derive from the UVA's Weldon Cooper Center's recently issued decommissioning utility scale solar facilities financial best practice for Virginia localities. After hearing your questions surrounding decommissioning, Energy Right reached out to the Weldon Cooper Center. And the Weldon Cooper Center's report states that Northumberland County's decommissioning language is one of the strongest in the entire state of Virginia. The Weldon Cooper Center and Energy Right co-signed a letter that I've emailed to you all, and I have copies with myself tonight, reiterating our support of your decommissioning language and solar ordinance as a whole. As you all continue to consider solar projects in the county, we encourage you to keep an eye on property rights. And property rights meaning someone should be able to do what they want with their land, as long as they aren't negatively affecting their neighbors or their community. But also be mindful of the economic growth opportunities that come along with clean energy investments. Like we're talking about tonight, siting agreements are a useful tool to offset county expenses or allow leaders to lower taxes on residents. It's important to remember that additional tax revenues from solar projects do not strain public services like other types of development due demand. So passing smart and responsible solar projects won't just benefit one person. It will benefit the county, the landowner, local businesses. They all stand to benefit from seeing these projects done the right way. So I would just urge you to move forward in the consideration and approval of solar developments in the county, so landowners may move forward with these projects and the benefits of energy development may be fully realized by the county. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have anyone else on the sheet, on the sign-up sheet. Now, would anyone else like to speak here tonight? Come on up, please.
I'm Sandra Ward, and I apologize, I did not sign up because I didn't know this one was on the agenda. And I think I missed step one of this whole process. It seems to me that the money that's coming in is dependent on the subscribers. Did I miss something in this? Like, if people don't subscribe, there won't be any money coming in? Yes, no?
You say if no one subscribes,
Yes.
there won't be any money coming in?
Yeah, where is the money? I see the energy being produced, but somebody's got to buy it. Who's buying it?
I would certainly think that the power company is going to be buying the energy.
Dominion behind it.
It would be Dominion buying the energy. Am I correct? Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so I'll comment. So this facility is being built under the law of community solar. So there was very specific carve out in the Public Utility Commission related to community solar. And what that allows us to do is contractually, Dominion has to take the power from the solar facility, but allows us to sell those net meter credits. So Dominion isn't buying the power, but they are contractually required to take it onto the grid and allow us to bring it through the wires, in essence, and contractually sell the net meter credits to whoever is in Dominion territory.
But it's still dependent on a subscriber. Like I would have to subscribe, and you'd have to have a number of people subscribing to this.
Yes, absolutely. It's 100% required that we have subscribers. That tends not to be our problem.
Okay, but that's my problem. I have solar panels on my roof.
Yep.
I have a number of them, so much so that my electric bill is a minus $1,000. I'm not going to subscribe.
You can't pay that.
Yeah.
And so there might be some other people that are saying, why should I subscribe?
Well, I'm glad you raised that. I'm super glad you actually raised that point. Am I allowed to?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So the Virginia law was very specifically set up so that 50% of the power has to go to the low-income members of the community. And the reason they did that is because low-income members of our community cannot afford the upfront costs of the solar panels and therefore don't get the benefit of that negative bill. Therefore, what the community solar does is give them the opportunity to participate in green energy. And then there's also a number of businesses that allows us to have businesses subscribe as long as they're less than 25 kilowatts of demand. And so it allows them to subscribe where they may not have a rooftop or available space to put solar as well. And there are other people that may have shaded areas or whatever, or just can't have solar on their roofs for whatever reason. So
Still dependent on subscribers.
100% you're correct.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I went to solar on my roof because the first year we lived here, my December electric bill was $1,800. It's gotten better since then. Of course, now it's very good. But it's still dependent on people subscribing and how many low-income people are going to give you enough money that this is going to be coming in and generating money.
Ms. Ward, direct your comments to us, please.
I'm sorry.
That's all we have? Okay, thank you, Ms. Ward. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, please come on up.
No plans to speak, but I'm Debbie Bergeron. We just moved here in July from Prince William County. Very excited to be new members here in Northumberland, and I'm just going to share a different perspective. I don't have enough information to have an opinion on whether this should happen or not, but we came here from the rural Crescent in Prince William County, which is being taken over by data centers.
You mean there's rural air in Prince William?
The last of the...
Yeah.
And that's all revenue generating, and that's the rationale behind it. For a long time, that was protected land, and zoning is around to protect land for certain reasons. And the only thing I would say is just to be cautious of a slippery slope. Once you make an exception, it's really hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. And it depends on what Northumberland wants to be. We moved here because it is so beautiful. And every day we wake up and pinch ourselves that we live somewhere that is so beautiful. So I would just be really thoughtful about exceptions that you make, not just for today and this, but who's the next person who's going to come by to say, hey, you did it for them, you should do it for us, and then do we become a solar farm town? And I would also say, while I am absolutely an innovator and believer in the future, and I'm sure renewable energy is the future, I don't think we should do something just because our neighbors are doing it. I told my kids not to do stuff just because their friends were doing it. Do it because it's right for the county, and you see that as a future, and be really thoughtful about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Question? Can I ask a question?
If you want to speak about this project, about this siting agreement.
Thank you. I hadn't participated in any of these previous conversations, and I've read the things in the paper.
Would you state your name and
I'm sorry,
address,
Kevin
please?
Clybourne,
Your address too, please?
403 Ridgeway Drive.
Okay.
One of the things that I've heard about different solar panels is the potential negative effects of the materials that it's built from leaking into the soils. I'm sure there's lots of discussion on both sides. What steps, if any, have been put in place to evaluate whether that's happening on the property over the 30-year period? And is there some kind of mechanism for testing and evaluating the soils? And so it was more of a question of if that's there. The other thing was the netting or material, or the fencing material that's going to go around that. I assume is that the plastic? No. It's a metal?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's a much better solution. Okay, those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? No. Only one. Only one. Anyone else like to speak? All right. Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak on this siting agreement? No one? All right. I'm going to close the public hearing, and the matter is before the board now.
I move that we grant this request.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Morrison, could you read the conditions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Marston, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The conditions, I've been discussing some of the conditions and sort of trying to come up with some language to address some of the concerns and questions that were brought up. Since what is before you right now is the siting agreement and not the CUP, would it be prudent to consider the CUP and address those issues, and then come back to your motion on the siting agreement? Just a thought, or you could proceed with the siting agreement and we can address the CUP.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
I agree, so I can
Going to withdraw your motion?
withdraw my motion and come back. Right.
All right. Mr. Long has withdrawn his motion.
And if we can get some good language regarding the CUP's language to reference the siting agreement to make sure
Yes, sir.
they're dovetail working together.
Yes, sir.
So I move that we table this to next month.
Well, I wouldn't suggest you have to table this next month.
We want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, we can talk about that now.
Yeah, let's talk about
I was
that.
just saying, you have, the CUP is on the next public hearing, right? So,
No, you're right.
I'm sorry, you've had the public hearing on that. The CUP
had the public
application
hearing
is
on
the
that.
next item before you tonight after this one, so.
Well, either way, we need some language regarding the siting agreement referencing the CUP conditions.
Right, I can talk about that now or whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Now, we did receive some information today at 11:32 a.m.
Yeah, I know.
On this. And I haven't had a chance to review that much. I was trying to review this siting agreement.
Well, what are the suggestions you have?
Well, I was speaking with Mr. Marston and also the Community Power Group, the applicant, and or the representative of the applicant, I'm sorry. And I agree that we need to, the conditions imposed should link up with the siting agreement, so they're more complementary. So I suggested adding an item 13 to the conditions to state that the siting agreement shall be agreed upon and executed between the solar facility operator and the county, and continued compliance therewith shall be required. Very simple. I think that should be acceptable. Thank you. And also, condition number 1, maybe the applicant or the proponent should address this. It has an expiration date of December 8th, 2026. So if it's okay with the board, I would ask you to allow the proponent to explain why that is. Because this is ostensibly, theoretically, a 30-year project, right? But the expiration date is in 4 years. So allow them to explain why that is, and then we can talk about what the solution is thereafter if it proceeds. I mean, if it's okay with the board.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board on that?
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what's being referenced is that a typical CUP has a period of 1 year for you to initiate action. And so with solar facilities, Dominion Energy, if you've ever worked them, is really slow. So we have filed our interconnect application. It's been accepted. It's in the queue to be studied. It takes an inordinate amount of time. We have another solar facility that is on year 3.5, and we are just now getting to construction. That's with the city of Charlottesville that I was just mentioning earlier. Their timeline for studying and making sure that all the equipment and safety and everything else, and as well as the equipment timelines, because even when you go to purchase this equipment, it then takes 1.5 years just because of the backlog in the equipment. And so what we've asked is that this CUP have a 4-year horizon for us to start construction. Really just, we'd be ready to go tomorrow, but it just takes Dominion that long and the equipment backlog for them to be ready to interconnect us. And so that was one component, I think, that you had referenced. And then I think the other thing we had talked about was just that at the end, the CUP, I think, goes to 35 years, and that as a part of the conditional use permit, it would, basically, we have to come back to the board in 35 years on the conditional use permit front, which would marry us in both directions, both on the conditional use front as well as the CUP front.
Well,
And
what would report, the term would expire on the 26th, in 2026. So if Dominion were to be ready at that time, prior to the expiration of your CUP in 2026, you would have to come back to renew it, right? For a term of years, or else your CUP would expire and you would not have the right, you would not have a permit to operate.
right, we'll have to have hit operations within 4 years.
Right, but the CUP, the language here, the condition here says that the CUP is going to expire in 2026.
I don't think that's right.
That's what it says.
That's what it says.
That's what it says here.
Now, what you're talking about, I think, is the requirement that you take action to initiate the project
Yes.
within a year of approval.
Yes.
That's not what this condition addresses. This,
Mr. Gregory, the intent there was to begin that use, was the intent, was to give them that 4-year window to begin installation.
okay.
That was the intent. but
Yes, that's, I think that's the intent of that, sorry.
Well, we can write that up, that's fine.
Yeah.
But this says this permit shall expire December 8th.
Yeah, that's an impossibility.
So, right, yeah, so
Right.
what I was figuring out
Gotcha.
is that was the period where you had to figure out whether this was gonna work with.
Yeah, that's that 4-year period.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, at that point, prior to your expiration, you would have to come back, and if the project is a go.
We can't be in that position.
Okay.
You can't, because then we invested millions of dollars and you come back and you say, oh, sorry.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
I think we can address the issue about commencing construction within 4 years. That's not a problem. And then I would suggest that that the CUP have a term of 35 years to correlate to the term of the siting agreement or thereabouts. Would that make sense?
Yeah, that's what my understanding was. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, question is the idea of number one to start construction or have completed construction? Because starting is one thing, completing and operational is another thing.
I think we've got to the point of this discussion that it's too many what ifs, I think, some suggestions, that it needs to be reworked, reworded, put on paper, and brought back to the board next month.
I agree with you on that.
While we're here on one, let's get that straight. Your idea is, ideally, given the current scenario.
That's right.
When might you even start construction?
We would start construction within that 4-year time frame.
All right. Then when might you be completed after that 4-year period?
With construction, or
To get it operational.
it takes 6 months to a year to be operational of construction.
So 5 years.
I think it needs to be something operational you could have a start date.
Operational within 5 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't want people to see all kinds of stuff sitting out there, and then when is it going to, like...
Fair enough.
One on 360 it's taking time, but people are seeing some activity.
Yes.
But this could be dragging on, and I know there's some people who've spoken down off of, well, you got 2 roads that serve waterfront communities. You got Fairport Road on that side, but then you got Ways Creek on that way.
Yeah.
If they don't see something going on, they might not be aware of what's coming in.
Mr. Tomlin, you bring a great point. Typically, what we would see is you have 4 years to start construction, then you have 1 year to complete construction. This way, you're not in a situation where the construction's lingering for a 2-year time frame. People are like, what's going on?
Right.
You got 1 year to get it done or get out.
And then a 35-year term.
Yes.
Okay. I think those things can be added into some language, along with the one about the coordinating between the siting agreement and this.
Yeah, I think those are really good points.
Yeah.
What, do we need to do anything else where we can go ahead and vote on it?
Well, we need to finalize this language, make sure
Okay,
that
and
everybody's comfortable with it.
We should be able to get everything out what we need to do, so next month we can vote on it.
Yeah.
I think that's doable.
Right. I mean, every month is something. I mean, if it's something you think should go in there, you need, let it be known now.
Well, the problem is we keep getting new information every month too. And it's not Mr. Haney's scenario.
Okay, until you wait till the meeting, the following meeting, and try to bring up something, bring it up now so next month we can vote on it.
Well, when you get a 57-page report from Cooper Weldon before last month, we discussed, I can't read 57 pages in that time to try to figure out any sense in this stuff. That's not fair to myself, it's not fair to the applicant, it's not fair to the public. And as Richard mentioned, we got an email today from somebody at DEQ who's willing to provide assistance. That's something, nothing came in until today.
And I think we need to address that email that came in. I think we need to ask them for some help. Let's see what they have to say. Because if we're going to do this, we want it right.
What my concern is, this is going to live long past my lifetime, much less on this board.
All of us.
And I'm worried, you mentioned about children. I worry about my child and my grandchild who was just born 6 weeks ago. What we do now impacts on them. And that's what I've got to, this is a decision that is weightier than anything else we've looked at. And that's what I have to confront myself.
And one of the best comments we heard tonight was from the lady says, once you let the toothpaste out the tube, you can't put it back in. And that's 100% correct.
Well, that's where we need to get everything on the table now, where we can, have it down, where we can make a decision.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
These projects, if I may just offer a comment.
Yes, sir.
These projects are complicated, and communities all across the Commonwealth are dealing with them, as we all know. And, you know, my firm represents a number of localities that have struggled with these cases, and, you know, they can be controversial. It just depends on the issues in the locality. But they do take time, and I've seen applications that have taken months upon months. And this one may be one of those. I don't think it will go much longer. I think we have a path forward to at least get it to a point where the board can reasonably consider it next month, and we'll get this resolved. So I apologize if I played a role in any delay, but I think we'll be able to get it done by next month.
Because the General Assembly comes in session, they change laws, the state corporation comes in and changes things. The $55 a month has been done in the past year. So all those things change what you have to present, what you have to address and stuff like that. It's a moving target for everybody.
Well, we appreciate that you guys have been so thoughtful on everything and taking the time to read it and really understand everything. And you've been a pleasure to work with so far. So if you have any questions, happy to address them now.
Excuse me. Any board members have any questions?
You still got a motion on the floor.
The motion's been tabled. Motion's been withdrawn.
Huh?
The motion's been withdrawn.
Jim withdrew his?
Yeah.
Withdrew the motion. Wake up. Put your hearing aid in there, right? All right. All right, do we get a motion to table till next month?
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion. Got a motion and a second to table to next month. All those in favor say aye. 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 All right, thank you.
I think we're the next one as well.
Yeah, you're the next one as well.
Are they both? I think you have.
Thank you, man.
Next one is a carryover on the request of Philip Haney. Mr. Morrison? Well,
It's been a public hearing.
it's been a public hearing, that's right, we've had a public hearing, the matter's before the board on that one.
I move we continue it over the next month.
Continue till next month. Got a second? Got a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now, next one is a revision to the Northumberland County zoning ordinance. Mr. McKenzie,
Yes, sir.
would you be so kind?
Yes, sir. A revision to the Northumberland County Ordinance, Section 148-153, travel trailers to limit camping without compensation on properties 7 days or less, require a health department approved sanitation facility, and make camping with compensation a conditional use in A1 agricultural and R2 residential waterfront zoning districts. The Planning Commission made a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to add C1 conservation zone land where camping with compensation can be allowed with a conditional use permit, as campgrounds are currently allowed in the C1 conservation zoning district. Camping with compensation will be prohibited in all their other zoning districts. So the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to correct an oversight where in our usage table in the zoning ordinance, campgrounds are allowed in C1. So we want to add C1 as one of those of the three zoning districts, A1, R2, and add C1 to be able to have camping with compensation, which is commercial camping, so that it does not conflict with our existing uses in the table. In your board docs, you should have received 6 public comment letters from citizens regarding this change to the zoning ordinance that I forwarded to you earlier this week.
Yes. All All right, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Any board member have any comments before we open the public hearing?
I might have a few afterwards.
All right. All right, I will open the public hearing on this zoning issue. The first one that signed up is Glenn Goodpasture.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Yes, sir.
I'm Glenn Goodpasture. My wife Brenda and I own a home at 337 Judith Sound Road. We bought it in 1988. We've enjoyed it ever since. Judith Sound Road has, for the better part of 75 years, been a community of owner-occupied, single-family residences. That's the way it was when we bought it. But that's the way it was when everybody that owns a home on that street was, and several of them have inherited it. Some of those families have been in there for 3 generations in some of those homes. There's never been a commercial use on Judith Sound Road, as far as I know, until this year, when this 10RR outfit, it's a national franchise operation, showed up with a tent there on Judith Sound Road at the corner of Marchetti Lane. Mr. Jackson a little while ago said, it's very important for you to know who your neighbors are. And we always have known who our neighbors are until that commercial tent camping operation came in. Now, we got somebody who may show up, he pays whoever he pays, and he stays a night or 2 nights or 3 nights, and from this narrow little slip of land that is the campsite, as a practical matter, the campers wander all over the neighborhood, and either without knowing where they're supposed to be, or maybe they don't care, they use the shorelands, they use the docks, they use the green spaces, and we don't know who our neighbors are. There are people who'll be gone tomorrow or the next day or a week from now, and they don't care. They don't care about our neighborhood. We care about our neighborhood. We would like it to be the same as it's been for the last 75 years. An owner-occupied residential dwelling with permanent structures. Now, I'm in favor of what the Planning Commission has proposed because it will take a step in the right direction for us knowing who our neighbors are. Because what it does is require that there is some nexus, some connection between a tent and a travel trailer and the owner of that property. Now, this tent thing is a commercial operation. Make no mistake about it. It's a motel without a building. You wouldn't have a Pizza Hut that operated out of a tent. But in this case, you've got a motel that operates without a building. It's wrong, it's inconsistent, it's against everything that this community is and has been. And I regret to say I don't think you've heard the last of that particular thing. But I'm in favor of what the Planning Commission has recommended because it's a step in the right direction and it enables us to better know who our neighbors are. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next person on the list is Jim Johnson.
Hello, my name is Jim Johnson, and I have a home at 403 Judith Sound Road. First, I'd like to thank the board and the county administration for actually working since May on these regulations and listening to our concerns. I also support the intent of the Planning Commission's recommendations. I do think that things that need to be considered by this board is, one, the revenue impact of this factor. The assessed value according to Northumberland County records as of last December for the homes on Judith Sound Road, Houslip, and Marchetti Lane, a little over $8 million. If you believe Zillow estimates, the market value of the properties are $12 million. The value of the tent is valued at $65,000. The issue that I'm bringing up is from an economic standpoint. The county could well be risking the market valuation of real estate that it has now, that it gets tax revenue from, by devaluing it, by allowing tenants to come into the area and devaluate residential communities. And again, it's important to understand where this is R2 waterfront established, I want to repeat that, established homes, not an empty field that is R2. It's established homes that we have a tent within 125 feet of a commercial operation. The other thing that I think the county needs to consider as you look at this is these operations bring no revenue to the county, but it brings an administrative cost of managing it. It brings a possible security issue with the sheriff's department having to come down there without any revenues coming in. And it also produces a possible health issue. So I would encourage the board to consider banning the commercial campgrounds altogether. To the extent that they are allowed, don't allow them within a distance of a residential neighborhood, established residential neighborhood. The other issue is health safety concerns. This particular tent has what they call a tent loo. We're only using this as an example. We understand the ordinance goes countywide, but this type of a commercial operation has a tent loo. The Department of Public Health has found that that's not an acceptable public sanitation. I've confirmed this, the Department of Public Health issued a notice of alleged violation to this site to say that sanitation equipment was not acceptable to the Commonwealth of Virginia. They have told me on Friday that they now believe that that tent could only be used, or any tent could only be used, if a porta potty or some other approved Commonwealth of Virginia sanitation device is present. So again, I think you need to support the Planning Commission's intent that any tent, on a private tent as well, has to have some type of an approved sanitation. Using the sacred example, a Boy Scout troop coming into camp. If they're coming into a camp for 7 days, they need some type of a sanitation device to be able to use. Not to do like I did when I was a kid, dig a hole, find a tree, and we're done. We need to address that. The other part that I'd like the board to do, in addition to approving the Planning Commission's recommendation, is to continue to consider the density requirements of such a tent area. Right now, there's no regulation about how big of a tent you can put on any particular lot. If you have a 50-acre lot, you can put up a 50-person tent. If you have a 1/5 of an acre lot, you can put up a 50-person tent. There's no requirement in that regard. Homes, RVs, have occupancy permits you have to get. You have to have water. You have to have water and sewer. You have to have septic tanks. But right now, under the existing the proposed regs, the only limitation would be 7 days max and sanitation. We encourage you to look at the commission, approve it, and also continue to look at the density requirements. And we thank you for considering this issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. All right, the next person is Jimmy Moore.
How y'all doing?
All
My
right.
name is Jimmy Moore, 121 Puget Sound Road. Can I pass out a picture?
Yes.
Can you hand that to the back row?
We can just pass it around.
I got some more here too. Can you pass yours around too? I've got five or six pictures. First one is of the tent. I don't know if y'all seen which y'all gonna vote on. Okay? That tent is 129 feet to Julie, can't think what Julie's last name is, but to her house. To her house. I took a tape from her house to the corner of that tent. That's about a basketball court and a quarter. That's not very far. It's 135 feet to Betsy and Mike's house. When they walk at the back door, they're looking at that tent. They lost privacy and they lost safety. when that tent went up, right there. The other pictures are a campground that I rented a house in Pennsylvania. Didn't know anything about a campground, but when I opened up the bathroom shades, that campground was 20 feet from that house. We heard everything that went on in that trailer park, in that campground. Might have started with one trailer, but it's got about 20 of them in there now, maybe 30. We don't want that. I think, did y'all pass the resolution about the 1,000 feet for the solar panel? Did that pass?
No.
It didn't pass. All right, but it was recommended for 1,000 feet from a residential area that the solar panels could be put. It couldn't be no more than 1,000 feet. I asked y'all to think about that on a campground. You put a campground in the vicinity of a residential area, let it be away from the resident, not in the backyard. You've been in it. You know what's that.
I know where you are.
Yeah, so, but anyway, the money, I mean, I figured I'm gonna probably lose somewhere in the neighborhood of to 100,000 to maybe 150,000 on my property. Y'all gonna lose revenue too. But if this goes through, people will probably move. I, for one, will probably move out of this county, because I don't think it's right. I wish I would consider us, if you were in this neighborhood, or if this campground came to your neighborhood, and look at it. 1 minute? All right. What happened to this guy? He had 2 hours on this panel thing. And okay. Anyway, but I just would hope y'all would consider the people who live there. I know Julie said that she just bought her house, been there about 6 months, I guess, 7 months. She said it should have known if this tent was coming there, should have never bought there. There's a lot of people like that. So, think about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next person to speak is Kevin Osborne.
This is what I came to talk to you about. I can only imagine if I were the neighbor that these people are, and totally agree. I think one of the things that I've been seeing in the postings in the newspaper is we seem to be taking revenue-based camping and no personal use camping and merging them together. I think they should be looked at it as two separate things. A commercial campground or anybody charging a fee like this tent person is should be subject to zoning, business licensing, all sorts of the existing requirements to operate a business in Northumberland County. People who use a recreational vehicle, whether it be a tent, an RV, a travel trailer, on their personal property for their family and friends who come to visit, I don't think should be subject to these conditions. I think it's burdensome, it's onerous. We have an RV, we pull out, we have a very small place that my wife and I stay in, but when we have guests, that's how we're able to accommodate them. I have full hookups, water, power, all those things, but at the same time, I think about the other people that I know who have people who come to visit them and stay in their RVs, or people who come to visit them who have drivable RVs. They shouldn't be burdened with this. If you have somebody who comes to visit you for 2 weeks, the current ruling, if I couldn't hear him reading it, so if it maybe have changed, but the 7-day restriction is definitely burdensome. Somebody comes to stay with you for 2 weeks, you've got to go get all these things to meet those criteria. And a lot of times people in the summer come to visit for multiple weeks at a time. So when I'm looking at this process, I think for the tent person who's collecting revenue for them to come to stay here, everything that's being proposed is totally reasonable. But to lump in people who, for personal use, are doing this with family and friends and not collecting any revenue, this seems onerous at best and unnecessary. Most private people are doing things to make sure that septic or water and power, all those things are being accommodated because they're trying to have people come in and stay and be comfortable. So I don't think the two need to be pushed together. And I would request that you, at least if there is a need beyond the current zoning laws and the current requirements of the county for people who are collecting revenue, if that is inadequate, address that through those processes. But don't pull in the personal use on private property into this whole process. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anyone else signed up tonight to speak, but would anyone else like to speak?
Should be some people on the Zoom.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. Anyone else in the courtroom like to speak tonight? All right, anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? No one? Anybody online now? All right, would anybody in the virtual world like to speak on this camping ordinance? No one? All right. Since no one else wants to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the planning commission's recommendation. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I have a question for Mr. Marston.
Mr. Marston?
As the gentleman, Mr. Osborne mentioned, a landowner's children or grandchildren come and they say it's an RV. And obviously it's no compensation. Are they going to be impacted by this change?
Park beside an existing residence? No.
Okay.
On raw land, yes.
On raw land, so if the landowner himself is coming down to clear his land or use his land in the meantime, he'd have to have what? And there's no compensation involved?
He was staying in either RV or travel trailer?
Yeah, or tent.
Or a tent. The ordinance requires a health department approved
Okay,
septic system, and then would limit that 7 days.
okay.
But how are they gonna have a facility sewer hookup if they're trying to develop their property? They have yet to get any permits, they're clearing the land, they have no septic permit, no electrical, no nothing. And we're gonna restrict them from coming down on the weekend to clear the land or get their property ready? I don't mean for them to come down and
The
say
existing
that.
ordinance does that now.
Right, okay.
As it's written now, it does that, where it has to be tied into a health department approved septic system.
Is a porta potty or little small porta potty, is that comply with the health department?
Yes, yes.
Or, yes, it does.
Yes.
It is health department approved.
Okay. Because somebody came down, say, on Friday night, didn't leave till Sunday, that's gonna be more than 7 days. Friday and all the way over.
Yep, that's more than 7 days.
So there is a distinction between compensation versus landowner using it themselves, or obviously you're right, if a family member is on a dwelling that's there, they've got a septic system what they could pump it into or use the facilities there.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Is there concern that the language doesn't clearly say that?
Hey, he can't speak again.
I never followed the language you just referred to.
Would you like me to read it, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, hold on.
I'm sorry.
The hearing's over with.
That's right. He can't, right.
So, Mr. Morrison, I'm reading this B right here. It says, tent camping is permitted by owners, residents, tenants, and other respected guests on property owned, leased, or otherwise legally occupied by the owners, residents, or tenants without compensation for a period of no more than 7 consecutive days and shall require a health department approved sanitation facility. That means if your grandkids come in there and they want to camp out and you're going to keep your grandkids for 2 weeks, 7 days, they can't camp out anymore. Is that correct, Mr. Marston?
I would not enforce it that way,
But
That's
that
the way
is
it's-
correct.
But that's the way it's worded.
That's the way
that
it's worded, and that
yes,
would
sir,
have
I
to be
understand.
enforced.
I would not enforce it that way, but yes, the way it is written.
All right, but suppose someone else took your.
I asked the same question before the meeting, because I know, like, I got a situation I know right now, a man has put a camera there while he's working on his lot and all.
I think we've missed the whole point of this. The point is that we've got an individual that's gone into a neighborhood on a small piece of land that set up a commercial business and making money off of renting a tent. Okay, that is entirely different from someone letting their family camp, or same thing that Ronnie's saying. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if I lived in a neighborhood and somebody bought a half acre of land and they come down and started a commercial business and started advertising it on the internet and renting it every weekend, I'm gonna tell you something, I'd be sitting right there with those people. It's not right. That's what we need to address, those issues. And it may not be anything we can do with the existing campsite, because that's probably grandfathered. But these are issues that we don't need to continue to happen in the county and on residential property. And we may want to go back and look at this again. We may want to add some more to this. And that's my personal opinion on it.
And I can see that, but I don't think we want ever to half acres land with camper trailers all around. That's not fair. Like some of the people, they got a home invested, $150,000, $200,000 home. All of a sudden, the lot next to it is a camper trailer with a porta potty.
And I think we need to find, if people want to have a campsite or a campground, we need to define the areas in the county where they can have it, not in the neighborhood.
Campground, a formal campground by itself
Yes.
requires
I mean, Glebe
conditional
Point,
use, et cetera.
That's correct.
Glebe Point Campground, everybody knows, you can go there and camp, campers, tents, RVs, whatever you want. But I don't quite understand how this is okay to be in the middle of a neighborhood and have a tent popped up and you rent it to people and you don't think it's not gonna cause a problem.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of problems down there.
And I'm not for restricting someone that wants to spend time with their kids, grandkids, or family. That's a different beast. But I agree with this group of people right here. So I think we need to look at this a little more. I think we need to define a few things. Where are we gonna have these campsites? This may not be the area to put it. I think we need to look into that. We're having trouble with things popping up in residential areas that's coming back to haunt us. And we need to try to get ahead of it a little bit.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor now. Any other discussion?
To do what? To approve it?
To approve it.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second on the floor now to approve this zoning ordinance change. Y'all ready to vote, or?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
All those against, say nay. Nay.
And I'm not against the wording, what's being presented to the board. I would just like to see more added to it.
Yeah, I do not like to see the
And that's
families
the reason why I
penalized.
voted against it.
I move that we send this back also to the planning commission to look into the difference between commercial versus private use.
Yes.
And try to address the issue we got going on right now. But I voted for it because I want to address their issue. But I agree with Mr. Haney. I have real problems with a property owner not being able to use their property for 7 consecutive days, because then he can come in the house if there's a house and let one day and then come back and do 7 more.
Yeah.
I mean, we can play games, and the fact that Mr. Morrison is not going to enforce it, we should be enforcing our ordinance as written, and if we don't like the way it's written, change how it's written.
Change how it's written, that's the right.
So, but this, hopefully there won't be much camping in the meantime, but I would ask the planning commission to do the, work on this post haste.
All right, got a motion?
And I'd also like to see them break it out between travel trailer, have them, and then tent camping, whether it's for compensation. Right now, it's kind of jumbled together a little bit, and it's kind of hard reading it a little bit.
Yes.
So have travel trailer with a compensate, which note, tent camping with or without.
All right. I got a motion, can I have a second? I got a second. All right, all those, any other discussion on this? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
Nay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one statement?
Yes, Mr. Morrison.
My only concern would be to go ahead and address the commercial side of tent camping to avoid that loophole of more of these tents popping up.
We passed what was,
They did.
we passed.
We passed what was sent
Yeah.
down by the planning commission.
Just for clarification, though, on Mr. Jett's motion, it was 3-2, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
For what?
On to approve.
On the approval.
On the
To
first,
approve the zoning changes.
That was
Yeah.
approved.
It was 3-2.
You and Ronnie?
No. Jimmy and myself voted against.
Okay.
Yep. Jim, you,
Right.
and Ronnie voted for.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm not supporting
Oh, I
those
know.
people, but I'm looking at the person there that wants their grandkids to stay there and camp. That's
I
the only
understand.
problem that I have a problem with.
But right now, grandkids probably won't be camping much.
Won't be camping now.
So I would ask the planning commission to post haste work on this one.
Yes.
No.
No, public hearing's closed, sir.
Yeah, I was just asking a question.
All right, our next item on the agenda. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you back in January.
Thank you for the plate.
Don't get anything done.